Welcome to book club. There is no time like the present to get started. So I just recorded the video about book club. A few of you already said you're in, so I'm so excited. And I'm gonna get started reading right away. So I just got done with chapter 1, and normally I would read most of my books in hardcover, and I've had this book, You Can Heal Your Life, in hardcover at least 3 times and always given away my hardcover copies. So I decided to give myself a digital copy, and that's what you've seen me read on my iPad. So let's talk about chapter 1. I think I'll definitely have to make these a YouTube video because I feel like I have so much to say, and it's just so... It's funny, I haven't read this book since probably in a decade, and I refer to it all the time. I tell people about this book all the time, and so it feels really super cool and special to get to reread this now as a healer and as a coach and as a guide, and remembering all the beautifulness that is this book. So she starts in this first chapter talking about how our thoughts create our reality, right? And so if you're on the healing path and this is something that you're pretty familiar with, and how our negative thoughts need to be replaced with positive and improving ones. And she goes into a lot of great detail about it. So if you're not reading the book yet, I would highly recommend that you read the book and get out of it things that are perfect and important for you. So I like to take notes while I read. I find that it helps my brain better process it. If you're like me, drop a comment or something so that I know I'm not alone in this. I've always felt a little weird about it, but to me, I retain information best when I'm writing it and not typing it, but actually hard paper and pen writing it. I go through a box of pens like a month. But I took some notes. So I highlighted some things in here that I wanted to remember, but I also wrote down some notes. And one of the biggest things was when she starts talking about forgiveness in this first chapter. And that, resentment is the thing that causes most diseases in our body. So the phrase, I forgive you for not being the way I wanted you to be. I forgive you and I set you free. Feels super important to me at this time in my life. And I'm going to try really hard not to get emotional because there is, as I grow and evolve and change, I have found that a lot of people that I used to be very close with are starting to resonate out of my life, and this is super painful for me. And I want them to come with me. I want them to shift and heal and change with me, and to find happiness and freedom and health and all those beautiful things. And many of them are not choosing it, and that's okay. That's their journey, right? And I have my own judgments about that I need to release, right? And so this felt super pertinent to me and my life, because when we forgive people for not being the way we want them to be, right? It's not so much a blame on them. It's a release for us. And then we can forgive them, and we can set them free into their own path, their own journey, right? And then turning that forgiveness even inside is really important too. And she talks about this in the first chapter. And I loved the phrase too, that we need to love and approve of ourselves exactly as we are in this present moment too. So I can see so many parts of me that I still want to purge and get rid of, and that I hate about myself and disappointed in, and I feel embarrassed about. And that I want to run from and hide from and things like that. And loving and approving ourselves exactly as we are is such a radical thought when we put it into practice, right? And this first chapter alone could be an entire book if she broke it down into it. And I feel like, you know, it might feel simple, but when you read it with a heightened level of awareness, it's just so, it's just, especially if you're doing the healing work, it can just feel so amazing. So loving and approving ourselves exactly as we are is just such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful act of love and kindness toward ourselves, right? That I understand I'm not perfect. I understand that I struggle. I understand that I have more work I want to do, but at the same time, I can hold the radical, beautiful, real truth that healing comes when I love and accept myself exactly as I am right now, not this changed version of myself once I do this, once I do that, this version of myself right here, right now. So I'd invite you to do that with me. I love and approve of myself exactly as I am right now. Also, I loved the part about criticism locks us into the very pattern we want to change. So being gentle with ourselves as we move out of this pattern. So I also love that, like, this criticism, this self-criticism especially, can lock us into this pattern. And to break free of this, you know, we got to be really gentle with ourselves as we're doing this. So the first chapter ends with a little affirmation. It's beautiful, and I want to read it together. So, in the infinity of life where I am, all is perfect, whole, and complete. I believe in a power far greater than I am that flows through me in every moment of every day. I open myself to the wisdom within, knowing that there is only one intelligence in this universe. Out of this one intelligence comes all the answers, all the solutions, all the healings, all the new creations. I trust this power and intelligence, knowing that whatever I need to know is revealed to me, and that whatever I need comes to me in the right time, space, and sequence. All is well in my world. So I am feeling pretty motivated to read the second chapter. So I've got 4 chapters to read for this first week. And I really would love for you to stay with me while I read this next chapter, because I think I can do another one and then get started on my day. Cheers to you. Drinking some mushroom coffee. And yeah, let's read the next chapter together. Okay, one of the very many reasons why I do not find myself being able to read as much as I'd like to is because of how tired it makes me. I feel crazy sleepy now. But it was a good chapter. And so you might have seen me journaling a lot at the beginning. It's because it asks a lot of questions in the second chapter. And she gave it as like a recommendation for like what she does with clients, but I decided to do it too, just to see what my answers were. And I caught myself like overthinking some of the answers, because I'm like, right, how am I choosing my language? So if you can do it without like just how you would instinctually do it, I think you'd find a lot more information about it. So something that she says in this book is something that I've heard my father say pretty much my whole life in a different way. And she says, what we give out, we get back, right? And my dad has always said, life's an echo, you get out what you give back. So I just love that confirmation coming in, and it just really helps me personally shift. So I'd love to hear how that thought, that phrase, that that logic sits with you and lands with you. What we give out, we get back. What we give out, we get back. So what are you giving out to the world, and what are you getting back in return? Something else that stood out to me was, if we deny our good in any way, it is an act of not loving ourselves. If we deny our good in any way, it is an act of not loving ourselves. It's just something to think about. There's a lot of things I could say about it, but no words are coming though. Just a lot of thoughts swirling. She talked about lack of self-worth and how babies are born, knowing that they're perfect, knowing that they're the center of the universe, asking for what they want, expressing their feelings openly, and they'll die if they don't get love. And then somewhere along the way, we change all those things about ourselves as we become adults. She talked about weight being a fear and a need for protection. And she talked about mirror work. I love and accept you exactly as you are, and the mirror can be a big difference and help. And so I found that really beautiful too. So she ends the chapter with more affirmations, or a little prayer phrase, or whatever you want to call it. So we'll read that one together. In the infinity of life where I am, all is perfect, whole, and complete. I am always divinely protected and guided. It is safe for me to look within myself. It is safe for me to look into the past. It is safe for me to enlarge my viewpoint of life. I'm far more than my personality, past, present, or future. I now choose to rise above my personality problems to recognize the magnificence of my being. I'm totally willing to learn to love myself. All is well in my world. So my eyes are far too sleepy to read a third chapter. So that'll be it for today. But I will see you for chapter 3 at another time. So it's much later in the evening now, and I didn't want to lose track of reading for the week, right? So I decided to make time. I got a second wind and I felt a lot better later on in the day. It's about 7 now. And I decided to read chapter 3, and hopefully I read chapter 4 immediately following this video. So to talk about chapter 3, it really talks about mental house cleaning and picking up and examining things. And I loved how she phrased, don't dig up old mental garbage. Like, you wouldn't go in the garbage to find your next meal. Don't do the same with your thoughts. And I love that so much. I love that, because it's really easy to see that, like, yeah, why do we go back to old thoughts? Why don't we allow new thoughts to come in? So letting go of thoughts and beliefs that are no longer serving you. She has great exercises in understanding why you might not feel good enough or lack self-love, why you might think life is dangerous or that you're not good enough, again. And so she had us list a bunch of things that we were told as children, and just different beliefs that we heard from like family and friends and like schoolmates and stuff like that. And I listed out some of mine, and she said to take about a half an hour to do this exercise. But as someone who's a healer and a coach and a guide, I have dug this hole very deep. I have thoroughly looked around. I have done years and years and years of shadow work in this regard. And so it was really easy for me to call to mind about 10 to 15 different things that stick out to me, of things I was told about myself and things I was told about the world, that I still need to let go of that old trash. I love in this chapter that she talks about blaming family, and that if you choose to blame your family, right? So like, there's other books that I've read, and I won't call them out, But there's other books that I've read that places a lot of blame, and a lot of courses that I've done, a lot of teachers that I've listened to that place a lot of blame on family. And although it's our responsibility to heal, it's still placing a lot of blame on the other person. And I really love Louise Hay's perspective on this, because she says that blame makes you stay in the problem and it gives your power away. The past cannot be changed, and instead try to understand it with compassion and look at your family as, especially your mom and dad, about their own childhood and their own experiences and things that we don't even know, right? Like, we can think we know everything, but we weren't actually there and we don't actually know. And so looking to understand with compassion how they grew up, and by freeing them of the blame, we free ourselves, and forgiving them, we forgive ourselves. Which I absolutely love. And then the last thing I love that she touches upon is like some spirituality pieces of that we chose to come here and learn and grow, and that Earth is a school. And I very much believe that to my absolute core. So her last excerpt, the excerpt in the last part of this chapter is, "In the infinity of life where I am, all is perfect, whole, and complete. The past has no power over me because I'm willing to learn and to change. I see the past as necessary to bring me to where I am today. I'm willing to begin where I am right now to clean the rooms of my mental house. I know it does not matter where I start, so I now begin with the smallest and easiest rooms, and in that way I will see results quickly. I am thrilled to be in the middle of this adventure, for I know I will never go through this particular experience again. I'm willing to set myself free. All is well in my world." Okay, on to chapter 4, even though my eyes feel so tired when I read. Any tips for me on this? I would greatly appreciate it. If y'all have ideas about how to not get tired while reading, drop them. It will help me and help our entire community. So, okay, on to chapter 4. Okay, chapter 4. So it feels really good to get these first 4 chapters done. My eyes feel really tired, but I feel really super happy to have ticked this off my list. And I love having a due date of the next week, because I looked at my week for the week and I was like, oh my gosh, I have such a busy week. I don't want to lose track of this. And it really forced me to do all 4 of these chapters today. So I did have to break them up into 2 chunks because I get so tired reading, but I'm really proud of myself for doing it. So I hope you're really proud of yourself for doing it too. Especially if you're not a big reader, or if you're a wannabe reader like me, and have hundreds of books but don't have the time to read them, or don't have the mental bandwidth to read them, or whatever the reason is. So this is the last chapter for this week and for this video. So in this chapter, she talks about billions of choices of thought, which I love, and talks a lot about a concept that I really love. And it's, if you think like your parents, are you thinking like your parents? So most people do, and this is where generational cycles come into play. Most people choose to think the same kind of thoughts generally as their parents. So they might feel like they have different thoughts than their parents because, they're like, oh, I'm not like my parents in these types of ways, or I think differently than my parents in these types of ways. And those are really profound and they stand out. But generally, on the whole, when you really look at it, they, really think a lot like their parents. So, and this is where these thought patterns can be changed, right? We can change these types of patterns. So what we choose to believe also becomes our truth. So this is really important to remember. And I just caught myself while reading this chapter a lot being like, yep. Yeah. What thoughts am I choosing in the last few days? I've been a little bit grumpy and a little bit negative and down in the dumps a bit. And I've been choosing some negative thoughts, and I'm getting negative results, right? And so I just love that thought that, obviously I know this inside and out, that thoughts can be changed, but really knowing that what we're choosing to think about is becomes our truth and also becomes our future. She talks about that as well. So looking at the beliefs and really sitting down and asking, like, is this true? Is this actually even true? Like, so like ideas around money that, maybe you've inherited, or about love or relationships, or safety, or the world in general. And is it even true? Or are you just choosing to believe something that was told to you? And what are other people's beliefs that you've adapted as your own, and have, like, you really looked at these types of things? So, for instance, like, what is a good example in my own life of, let me just flip my notes, of a thought that I realized wasn't my own. There's a lot, but nothing's coming specific to mind. So I'd love to know if you uncovered some thoughts. It's funny. It's funny. Once you've changed a lot of your thought patterns, it's hard to like go back. I guess that, okay, here's one that's coming to mind, like that you have to work really, really, really hard and work a lot of hours if you want to make a lot of money. So this is a belief that I believed for a really long time, and that success only came from a lot of hard work and hours of hard work, like never sleeping and staying up till the sun comes up to work. But like actually when you rest and allow yourself to be in good energy, like you receive a lot more when you're not depleted and burnt out. So that is definitely a belief that I had adopted that wasn't true. So in this chapter 2, she talks about how each moment is a new beginning and we're never really stuck and we can shift at any time. So, and I just hit 444 on the time. I just noticed that on my, my recording for this. And I like, for example, I was feeling pretty, down about money, right? Just a little frustrated about money and down, and like thinking about my future and how things were going to work if I don't have a lot of money coming in. And it's been something like kind of on my mind all day, like really heavy on my mind. Like, how is this even going to work? And feeling really hopeless yesterday and today about it. And just like, well, there's no avenues, there's no options. Like everything's just going to be terrible and it's whatever. And then I got sent an article that there's the biggest lottery winnings ever happening right now, and that I could buy a ticket and potentially change my entire life if I won, right? And like the odds are like 1 in whatever. But like all of a sudden I just started thinking about how beautiful it would be to win and what I would do with that money, and how I would help others with it, and how I would help myself with it, and how good it would feel, and how exciting that would be, and how it would just change everything in my life. And so your life can change at any moment. And I really love that in this chapter, Louise Hay talks about our thoughts in the same way, that we can shift at any time. We're not stuck, and we just get so kind of narrow-minded sometimes, I feel like, about like, what am I going to do, So we can catch our thoughts when we notice them, right? It's becoming the observer, which is something that's super hard to do really, unless you're like constantly thinking about like, oh, I have to catch my thoughts and I have to be the observer and da 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 da. Or if like someone brings it up to us, then we can see it a lot clearly. But when we can catch ourselves here is where we have an opportunity to change. So we can choose thoughts that create pain and problems. So I love how that she worded that. Or we can choose other thoughts that are helpful and healing and love, right? And that our minds really create our futures, and we have ownership over this. So I love this chapter. She ends with the saying, "In the infinity of love where I am, all is perfect, whole, and complete. I no longer choose to believe in old limitations and lack. I now choose to begin to see myself as the universe sees me, perfect, whole, and complete." The truth of my being is that I was created perfect, whole, and complete. I will always be perfect, whole, and complete. I now choose to live my life from this understanding. I am in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. All is well in my world. So I love this so much. I'm glad I got all these chapters done today. Look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to do chapters 5 through 8. And we'll talk about them in the same format. So if you're joining me from TikTok or Instagram, hi, thanks for making it all the way over here. Go ahead and subscribe, comment down below. Would love to hear your thoughts on the different chapters and what your perceptions were. That's what a book club is all about. So go ahead and share. Invite your friends to join along if you'd like. And I will see you again next week. Much love.